Welcome. Today is April 9th. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Facebook live session streaming here in Yemen. My name is Aultaf Mousani. I am the WHO representative. Before I get started on COVID updates, I'd like to remind everybody that April 7th, 2020 was the World Health Day. And this year, we celebrate the theme of nurses and midwives. We'd like to remind all of you, as well as our leaders, the critical role they play throughout the world, and most in particular in Yemen. Too often, nurses and midwives are on the front line helping us combat diseases, help us with the birthing of the newborn, as well as serve as a symbol of prosperity and peace within the healthcare system. This year, they play a more vital role helping us stop, treat, trace, and manage COVID-19. An appeal on their behalf to help them do their job by staying at home, adhering to the protocols, and again, to nurses, midwives, but all healthcare workers in Yemen, we'd like to celebrate, acknowledge, and deeply appreciate the lives of yourselves and your families that you put on the line every day to serve the people of Yemen. So thank you. Now, in terms of the global update, within the last 24 hours, more than 1.4 million cases of COVID-19 have been reported in more than 210 countries, states, territories, and areas. There are 10 countries in particular that are reporting the largest number of cases. These are the United States, Spain, Italy, Germany, China, France, Iran, the United Kingdom, Turkey, and Switzerland. As we turn our attention to Yemen, too often the World Health Organization, and myself in particular, get asked, what do we do for COVID preparedness? And as I mentioned this last week in particular, we've been investing a lot of our time and energy to make sure that our preparedness is constantly being tested to manage COVID-19 in Yemen. And I'd like to take some time just to describe what that is. The heart of our strategy is obviously to provide you and the health authorities with the sound advice. The World Health Organization, with the United Nations, is working very closely with the health authorities to make sure that 37 hospitals throughout Yemen have ICU capability. Now, when we talk about ICU capability, there are several components to that. That's not just the bed, that's not just the ventilator, but most equally important are the medicines, the medical technologies, and the healthcare workers to be able to treat anybody who is ill. Reminding everybody that when we look at the statistics, a number of people may get ill. Not everybody becomes severely ill and requires ventilator or ICU capability. But of course, we're preparing ourselves, and every day we look at the progress towards the 37 hospitals throughout Yemen that will serve as the COVID hospitals of choice, whereby should you fall into the severe category and require hospitalization, these hospitals will be known and you will be referred to accordingly. So that is just one component. The other critical component is making sure that we have testing capability. A number of you have asked us through the online sessions and come to us individually and saying, is testing happening? Are there sufficient tests? Reminding all of us that testing is a critical part of our strategy to manage and fight the COVID virus. And in the very beginning, WHO, through its support of its partners, brought in an emergency buffer stock. This was hundreds of tests. Today, in Yemen, I'm proud to share with you that we're now thousands of tests. I'm equally proud to share with you that the testing capability does not just happen in Sana'a and Aden. We now have increased testing capability in a third lab in Mukalla. Third critical component is making sure that healthcare workers have the correct science, the correct technology, and the correct information when it comes to managing COVID-19. So we have embarked very heavily on training a number of healthcare workers of how to manage cases in the healthcare setting. In addition to that training package, our rapid response teams, and as I reminded everybody during the World Health Day, I'd like to also acknowledge the critical role they play on the front line to serve as that first layer of defense. They also have embarked on a lot of training. This is more than 2,000 rapid response individuals made up of teams throughout all the districts of Yemen. Our goal is to double and triple that capacity. And as we speak, we're embarking on training more and making sure that these rapid response teams have the necessary protection so that when they go out and they screen at points of entry, they help investigate rumors, they also are protected in order to do their job. So that is another critical component. A fourth and a very vital critical component is making sure that we share information with you. We share with you the science, we share with you the updates, and we share what we know and don't know. And there's a lot of rumors. This global pandemic has shown there's a huge gap of information when it comes to COVID-19. And we talked about this in a couple of our first sessions. Do my pets have it? Can I get it from the pipes? Are there protective measures such as garlic and lemon that will prevent me from getting it? This is very important, and I draw and I appeal to all of you to look to the WHO website, both in English as well as Arabic. Use the social media platforms that are trusted to get the right information. Now is not the time to panic. Now is the time to participate and protect yourselves, protect your families, and protect your communities by practicing the 7 measures we've been talking about in the previous sessions. These, again, reminding everybody, is making sure that you wash your hands with soap and or the hand sanitizers. This is making sure that you keep your hands away from your eyes, nose, and mouth. This is making sure that you practice very carefully respiratory etiquette. Should you have a fever, stay at home. Should your fever worsen and have a chronic cough and have difficulty breathing, go to the COVID hospitals. Even more importantly, which is difficult for all of us around the world, is practicing what we call social or physical distancing. This is making sure that you are 1 meter, 3 to 6 feet away from anybody, so that way you protect yourselves from obtaining the virus. And lastly, equally important, is making sure you get the right information. Stick to the facts, avoid the fiction, stop propagating the rumors, and make sure that you are armed with the right information. Now, in the previous sessions, and again, I'd like to thank everyone who's participated. In our session of the 5th nature, we had more than 50,000 individuals who we reached. There were a lot of questions in terms of how do you monitor investigated cases? Are the labs ready? What are the precautionary measures? Is COVID-19 an airborne disease? Are there enough tests in the country? And can you explain self-quarantine? When we talk about medical isolation, that is at the health facility level. When we talk about quarantining individuals, that is the individuals themselves. Should you have been exposed? Should you present a fever? We would like you to stay away from others so that they don't get exposed. Self-quarantine means that you are in a place, presumably your home, within a room, away from others, reminding colleagues that social distancing does not mean that you are disconnected from people. When you see examples all over the world, you may be in self-quarantine, meaning you are in your house within a room. It does not mean that you don't pick up the phone and call people. It does not mean that you don't connect with individuals. Now more than ever, we need to connect as a community through social media, through normal telephone conversations, through writing of letters, through creativity. And there's a lot happening around the world. We are more than happy to share these examples with you. Just one that comes to mind of a very young boy in Greece who, while he was in self-quarantine, created what we call the isolation waltz. And you can see this on YouTube. There are many, many examples such as this. And again, an appeal to the people of Yemen that as and when the virus becomes more transmissible around the world, and should it be in Yemen, it is very important that you understand what it means to self-quarantine. But again, we've also given you a few tips. Should you be self-quarantined with your family and with your children, how to manage yourself day to day so that you're able to cope with some of the natural anxiety, the natural fear. So again, we want to thank you for all your questions. Keep them coming. If you've got suggestions on things that we haven't covered, we're more than happy to set up separate videos. We're more than happy to repeat videos. We're more than happy to get into some of the science. You know that there are two basic pillars of the science that we're working on within Yemen and throughout the world. This is what we call the suppression, in addition to the public health science. These must come together. The suppression, which alludes to the closure of markets, the closure of schools, social distancing, the reduction of mass gatherings, which we know all over the world is very difficult for everybody. We are a people that would like to hug and kiss and shake each other's hands. This is how we've been brought up between culture and tradition. But unfortunately, some of these behaviors will have to change for us to fight this virus. It is a temporary pause in some of our traditional norms, just so that we make sure that we keep our families safe. In addition to some of those suppression measures, we must make sure that the healthcare system has the ability to test, trace, treat, and isolate as needed. And we're working with the authorities throughout Yemen to make sure that those systems do come online. And as we continue to have more sessions, we will share them with you. So I close with the following, reminding everyone in Yemen to play their role to help protect yourself, protect your family, to protect your community, and to protect your nation. And those are the 7 measures which have been tested worldwide, making sure that we wash our hands constantly with soap and water, use the alcohol sanitizers if you have them, making sure that you keep your hands away from your eyes, nose, and mouth, because this is the pathway that you can ingest the virus. Making sure that we practice respiratory etiquette. You don't cough in your hands. That's not what we want. We want you to cough into your elbow or cough into a tissue and discard that tissue. Make sure that you practice social and or physical distancing. Means you stay 6 feet away from individuals or 1 meter. Similarly, should you have a fever, please stay at home so that you isolate, you quarantine yourself from others who could be exposed. Should your fever worsen in combination with a chronic cough and difficulty to breathe, those are some early signs that you want to go seek health care. And then, of course, last but not least, make sure you have the right information. We within the United Nations system, as well as within WHO, have a number of websites, a number of YouTube channels, Facebook platforms, and even a hotline both in English, Arabic, Chinese, French, and Spanish, where you can get the right information in the right time. Stay safe, stay healthy.